case is history versus truth. The children of Zion bring their plea. Who does the covenant belong to? Who bears the scars? Let the record show. While they preach love from a polished stage, our history's locked in a hidden page. Chains on ships, names erased, faith used as a mask for hate. Not a cruise when we cross that sea, stamped with brand, stripped identity. Tears in the water, stolen youth, generations raised without the truth. They painted heaven in their own face, but never showed us our rightful place. Turned the gospel into control, while breaking bodies, breaking souls. Blood in the soil still cries today. Statues stand, but the truth won't stay. You say it wasn't you, just history stained, but the fruit still grows from the root of pain. Our eyes have failed from waiting on help, watching for saviors that save themselves. They wrote the story, erased our names, preached redemption but forged the chains. No more waiting, no more disguise. The judge of Zion will arise, not by empire, not by throne. The Holy One will claim his own. I'm not done, this the testimony. Kingdom truth, not ceremony. Mount Zion rising from the dust. Justice coming, that's a must. 144, stand in light, restored in truth, prepared to fight. Not with hate, not with pride, but with the word they tried to hide. Revelation echoes loud, mystery breaking through the clouds. Every deed will meet his day, nothing hidden stays that way. He who conquers by the blade will face the measure that he made. No more silence, no more fear, the righteous judge is drawing near. This is not revenge, it's revelation. Not oppression, restoration. The courtroom of heaven is now in session. Truth correcting misdirection. Our eyes have failed from waiting on help, watching for saviors that save themselves. They wrote the story, erased our names, preached redemption but forged the chains. No more waiting, no more disguise. The judge of Zion will arise. The scattered tribes will stand again, justice flowing like the wind. We cried aloud in the streets. We searched the pages. We found ourselves in the prophecy. Isaiah 61. Good news to the broken, freedom to the captives. The trial is recorded. The verdict is coming.
Greetings, shalom. Welcome to the Forefront Radio. Welcome to the Forefront Radio. I'm your host, Levi Israel. Hope everybody's doing all right. You are now tuned in to the Forefront Radio here on YouTube. We're going to have a brief discussion here. And on this broadcast, you're going to find out that history books have information that we were never meant to hear. What you are about to receive today is not a conspiracy. It is covenant. It is not mythology. It is memory. The memory of our people who have been taken to the four corners of the earth, whose identity was stripped, whose languages have been silenced and changed, whose God was swapped for other gods, the gods of our captors. And the Most High said all of this would happen. He wrote it down, he documented, and he sealed it with the curses of Deuteronomy 28, Leviticus 26, and the Testament of Levi. And he promised that he would not forget us, he would not forsake us, and he would still remember us. Now, the question that the world forgot to ask is simple. Who are the children of Levi? Where are the sons of Aaron? Where are the priestly tribe, the gatekeepers of the covenant? You see, after the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, 70 CE, after the Trans-Saharan dispossession, after 1492, after the Middle Passage of slave ships across the oceans, after the plantation, and after the mission school, where are they? The answer is under your feet. It is in the rhythm of the drums in Benin. It is in the funeral rites of those that carry palm leaves in Malawi. It is in the hidden ceremonial rites of voodoo in Haiti that was never about snakes and zombies. It was about preserving the memory of ancestors and angelic messengers too dangerous for the Catholic Church to allow. The answer is in the face of every dark-skinned black man and black woman and child who was told to forget their ancestors, who was told to forget who they were and worship the God of their enslaver. This episode of the Forefront Radio, we're going to dive deep today and open the book, not just the book of Deuteronomy 28 as we're used to reading, not just Leviticus 26. We're going to open up the Testament of Levi. We're going to open up pages of history that they tried to burn, and we will show you the truth, because the Bible says you will know the truth and the truth will make you free. You will know the truth and the truth will make you free.
Pages turning, ink like fire, names in margins, truth cuts like wire.
I hear the letters to the churches in my sleep. 7 cities carving stone secrets in the deep. He said, I see your tribulation, I see how you bleed. You pour in the pockets, but rich in what you believe. They flex like royalty, rings on their fingers. Boast in the temple, but judgment still lingers. Say they're the chosen, heirs to the throne, but the shepherd knows his flock by the marrow, by the bone. I walk through markets of marble and glass. Every promise on their tongue got a price tag attached. They weaponize the scripture, twist it into cash. Swear they wear the covenant like a crest or a sash, but the lamb got receipts, every deed on display. Separate the glory chasers from the ones who just pray. Says I know the blasphemy, I know every lie. You can fool the whole world, but you can't fool his eyes.
They say they're chosen, but the page don't show their name. Wear holy robes, but they stitched out of ego and fame. Heard every claim at the gate, but the judge don't play those games.
You can't rewrite the scroll.
And blind when the lion finally roars, every mask falls off in time.
You can't rewrite the scroll. You can't rewrite the scroll. You can't rewrite the scroll.
Can't rewrite the scroll.
Hey! Next letter, seal city of an open door. He said you got a little strength, but you trusted with more. Kept the word under pressure when the world turned course. Held tight to the promise, wouldn't bow to the chorus. To them he said, I see the pretenders circling round. They claim they're the family, but they counterfeit the crown. They trace a bloodline and dust on the floor, but the true marks is deeper than the veins and the pores. They weaponize heritage, wave it like a sword. Turn the altar to a stage, every prayer to win award. But the quiet ones waiting in the shadows of the pews. He said, I'll make the proud bow in front of you. Make them come and worship. Know I loved you first. Turn the last into living proof, blessed from the dirt. So I stand with the remnant, overlooked on her, clinging to a scarred hand, not a title or a word.
They say they're chosen, but the page don't show their name. Wear holy robes, but they stitched out of ego and fame. Heard every claim at the gate, but the judge don't play those games.
You can't rewrite the scroll. chest got a label, will it stand when you arrive? If I carve out a title, will it burn in the flame? When the roll call echo, will you speak my name?
They say the chosen, but the page don't show their names. We're holy roads, but they stitched out of ego and fame. Heard every claim at the gate, but the judge don't play those games.
You can't rewrite the scroll. You can't rewrite the scroll. You can't rewrite the scroll.
Can't rewrite the scroll.
Yeah.
Can't rewrite the scroll. Can't rewrite the scroll. Can't rewrite the scroll.
Can't rewrite the scroll.
All right, folks, welcome back. We're going to go into our history lesson, but before we do, it's imperative to share that this music that we have available on the Forefront Radio is for free. It's here on our YouTube page called The Apocalypse. That album is available on this channel if you're interested in the music. Also on our SoundCloud page, soundcloud.com, just type The Forefront or Afio Levi Israel Music, and you'll be able to find it. This song is called The Synagogue of Shadows. We hope you appreciate the music. The music is for free, 100% free. But if you do appreciate what we have available for you, feel free to donate to us via Cash App, APHIELLEVI. Your contributions assist us in teaching the truth out here in the continent of Africa. All right, y'all, let's get started with this discussion here. Let's get into the biblical text and let's show the source of all history itself, the words of the Almighty, the words of Christ, the words of the Most High. Because unless you understand the covenant, the contract of our ancestors, you can't understand the generational curses. Unless you understand what the cause of the curse, you cannot understand what happened to the Afro-Hebraic people scattered across this earth. Let us start our conversation with Leviticus chapter 26. We're going to start at Leviticus 26, verse 14. It says, But if you will not hearken unto me, and will not do, what does the Bible say? And will not do all these commandments, and if you shall despise my statutes. Wait a minute. So we're finding out based on the Bible that God never gave religion, that he gave commandments, statutes, and there was a group of people that despised it. There was a group of people that the laws were given to, and instead of adhering to it, they despised his statutes. Then it says, or if your soul abhor my judgments, so that you will not do all my commandments, but that you break my covenant, I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, meaning what? Other nations will come and they will terrorize the sons and daughters of Jacob, especially the tribe of Levi that we're discussing today. Then it says, consumption and the burning ague that shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of heart. So this is going into what? Various plagues of sicknesses and diseases, and various things that will cause depression, sadness, mental health deficiencies. And you shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. Going into what? Being impacted by colonization, being enslaved in your own lands, and scattered to different areas where you're sowing seeds and forced to work in the agricultural sector. This is Black history in the Bible. And I will set my face against you, and you shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when no one pursues you. Y'all, let's meditate on that for a second. They that hate you shall reign, rule, have dominion over you. Do y'all hear that? Colonialism was not an accident of history. It was a prophetic fulfillment of a broken contract, a broken covenant. Portugal, arriving on the shores of West Africa after they exiled Hebrews from their shores. Britain planting its illustrious evil flag in Malawi, which in Swahili means the Levites. France bleeding Haiti dry for reparations after this first black nation created the Haitian Revolution and gained freedom in the Western world. These were not random acts of European ambition. They were the covenant, the contract working itself out in time. Let's go to Leviticus 26, verse 32 and 33. Leviticus 26, verse 32 to 33. And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And I will scatter you, and I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out the sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. Listen, folks, the Bible is telling us that we are the ones scattered among the nations, among the Gentiles. Listen, folks, that word scattered in the Hebrew, zara, it means to winnow. It means to toss grain into the wind so that it spreads in every direction. The Most High said he would zara this people, scatter, displace this people. And so we find them in the Caribbean islands, in North America, in Central Africa, in the islands of the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Islands, not by accident, but by covenant, contract. The word zara, scattered, means diaspora, dispersed, displaced. But even with all that, the Most High has not forgotten us. The Most High has not forgotten his people. He placed in the generational curses a promise inside the curse that he would not forsake us. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 44 and 45. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 44 and 45. It says, and yet for all that, when they be in the land of their enemies, I will not cast them away, neither will I abhor them to destroy them utterly, to break my covenant, meaning contract, with them, for I am Yahuwah their Elohim. I am Yah their God. But I will, for their sakes, remember the covenant of their ancestors. Who told you this Bible is about religion? The covenant of their ancestors. This Bible has always been about our ancestors, folks, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the heathen, that I might be their God. I am Yahuwah, or Yahweh. He's our God, y'all. That is the promise hidden inside the curse. He said, even in the land of your enemies, I will not cast you away entirely. The covenant does not break. The contract does not break. It bends under judgment. It bends under captivity, but it doesn't break. Somebody say, all praises to the Most High. Hallelujah for that thing right now, because that promise is still active in 2026. That ongoing contract is still going on until the second coming of our Messiah. All praises to the Most High for that thing. All praises. Now, let's go to a parallel of Deuteronomy 28. Leviticus 26 matches Deuteronomy 28. If you have never read this chapter in full, I want you to stop what you're doing and open up your Bible right now. I want you to read from verse 15 all the way to verse 68. Read it slowly. Read it carefully. And as you read it, ask yourself a question. What people on this earth does this chapter describe with perfect precision? Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally, historically, and well documented in the prophetic text. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. We're going to read this slowly and carefully. But it shall come to pass. But it shall come to pass. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me share my Bible screen so y'all can read it with me. Because I know some of y'all don't read the Bible. I know some of y'all hear me reading it, but it's like y'all, unless you see the words yourself, you're not gonna read it. Let me pull up my Bible app for y'all. Let me pull up my Bible app for y'all. Let's read it together. Let's do that. Let's read it together. That way, nobody can say, hey, Forefront, you're making this up. I don't know what you're talking about. Because some folks don't like to read. So we're gonna share the screen. Let's share the screen. Let me put it on the screen for y'all. So that way we can read it together, right? That's fair, right? Let's put it on the screen so everybody can see it together. All right. Here we go. All right, let's get a one in the chat just to make sure everybody can see it. Let me make it a full screen here. All right, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and read this together. That way nobody is confused. It's going to be right there in front of your face. Let's read it. Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, meaning it will happen in the future, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, to observe to do, that's an action word, all his commandments, not his religion, all his commandments, not going to the mosque, all his commandments, not going to church, all his commandments, not religious holidays, not traditions of men, right? We're currently in the month of March, going into April as well. Most folks don't know that our ancestors celebrated our Independence Day, which was Passover, not 4th of July, not Juneteenth, not Haitian Independence Day, not Malawian Independence Day, not Ghanaian Independence Day or Nigerian Independence Day, not Brazilian Independence Day, but Passover. That's a commandment. And his statutes. So you have the commandments, and then you have sub-laws that are connected to these commandments that are called statutes. I'll give you an example. The Bible says in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery. So now a statute would be a sub-law related to thou shalt not commit adultery. So not only is that going into premarital relationships, but also every immoral act that goes against Leviticus chapter 18 and Leviticus chapter 20, like bestiality, like pedophilia, like pederasty, like witchcraft and sorcery, dealing with immoral acts and adult behaviors connected to that. That's all found in Leviticus chapter 18. Incest. That's documented under a statute related to thou shalt not commit adultery. LGBTQRS anti-lifestyles that go against the scriptures. Those are all documented under the text as a statute related to thou shalt not commit adultery. What's another example of a commandment that we should observe to do? Another example is not being involved with sorcery, witchcraft. Because the commandment says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. So the biggest witchcraft on the earth is not voodoo, contrary to popular belief. It's Christianity. It's Islam. It's Talmudism. It's Kabbalah. It's various forms of mysticism masqueraded as the religion of the God of the Bible when it's not. Show me in the Bible where it says to celebrate Ramadan. It's not there. Show me in the Bible where it says to dress up your children as demons and goblins and call it Holy Evening, Halloween. It's not there. Where in the Bible does it document reindeer flying in the sky? It's not there. These are all acts of idolatry. Where does it say to bow down in Mecca to the Kaaba stone, the stone of Saturn? Where does it say to celebrate Saturnalia, the Roman festival aligned with the Christmas week? Show me in the Bible where it says to celebrate astrological signs, gods of Mars and Aquarius and Pisces, and then say, we're just going to call it our birthday. It's not there. So because of these things, because we observe to do pagan practices instead of doing all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, what does the Bible say? That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So generational curses would fall on the sons and daughters of Jacob due to disobedience to his what? Commandments, statutes, laws, regulations, not recommendations, by the way. Commandments. Here's an example, verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. So, whatever city you go, you will find blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, people in Africa, people in the Americas, people in Canada, people in the United States, people in Brazil, people in the Caribbean islands, people in Ghana, people in Nigeria, people in the UK, always suffering from the worst economic and political conditions in the city. Who lives in the ghettos and slums of America? Who lives in the favelas of Brazil? Who lives in the barrios of New York? Who lives in the shanty houses of Malawi and Ghana and South Africa? Who lives in the worst conditions in India and Mauritius? Then it says, and cursed shalt thou be in the field, meaning will be in the lowest conditions in the economic sector, dealing with the agricultural field. Who was cursed to work on plantation systems, not only in their own land that they tried to cultivate, but in other lands all over the planet. Sugarcane field, tobacco field, rice field, cotton field. Who did that happen to? Was that everybody on the planet, folks? Or was that a specific demographic? Was that a specific people, a specific group? This is in the Bible, but it skips sermons. It skips Sabbath school lessons. It skips Wednesday prayer meetings. All these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. The word overtake, nasag, in Hebrew, it means to catch up with you. It's going to catch up on your behind. It's going to reach you. It's going to lay hold of you. Listen, these curses are not just suggestions, y'all. These are a relentless pursuit to find and catch up the sons and daughters of Israel. Let's examine verse 25. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let's look at verse 25. Let me highlight it for you. Deuteronomy 28, verse 25. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. All the kingdoms of the earth. All the kingdoms of the earth. So, what happened? We were disobedient to God's laws. He caused us to be smitten by those that do not have our best interests at heart. And subsequently, throughout history, when we fought against them, they dispersed us into 7 different ways. Egypt, 1. Assyria, 2. Babylon, 3. Persia, 4. Greece, 5. Rome, 6. And then you have the Ishmaelite Arabs and the Europeans, 7. 7 ways, 7 different ways, 7 different major captivities that our ancestors went through, including slavery by the Ishmaelite Arabs and the descendants of Esau, Edom, the European nations of Rome that scattered us and displaced us all over Western civilization. Is the Bible a true book? Who did this happen to? It did not happen to Chinese people that celebrate the Buddhist religion. It did not happen to Ishmaelite Arabs that are in Islam. It did not happen to Roman Catholics. But it happened to blacks all across the world, removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Listen, it didn't even happen to European people that converted to a religion that started in Africa. Folks, that's not a hyperbole. The Afro-Hebraic diaspora is not regional, it's global. Look at where you find Hebrew practicing or Hebrew descended communities in places like Mali, in places like Ghana, in places like Nigeria, in places like Ethiopia, in places like Uganda, in places like Zimbabwe, in places like South Africa, in places like Malawi, in places like Mozambique, in places like Reunion Island, in places like Mauritius, in places like Jamaica, in places like Haiti, in places like Cuba, in places like Brazil, in places like Trinidad, in places like the United States, in places like Canada, in places like the UK, all the kingdoms of the earth, exactly as written in the Bible, y'all. Is this a coincidence? Is this a coincidence that Hebrew practicing and Hebrew descendant communities are scattered all over the globe? Is it coincidence? Is it just a circumstance of events, or is there a divine movement of people groups being displaced, and it's documented in the book, y'all? Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 63 and 36 and 37. Let's go there. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let's read verse 36 and 37. Let's read 36 and 37. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. This is in the Bible, y'all. So, one of the generational curses that would happen to the sons and daughters of Jacob would be what? That our kings, our rulers would be shut down, our empires would be diminished, our throne would be downtrodden. And not only that, we would go off into idolatry, worshiping various deities, worshiping and serving gods of wood and stone. We're going to come back to this in detail when we discuss 1492 and the forced conversions of our ancestors, but mark it now. The Lord, the instruction, the Torah predicted with surgical precision that our people would be forced to worship gods of their captors. For example, the wooden crucifix on the plantation chapel, within the mosque, imposed by the sword all throughout Africa, the beads and the saints substituted for the Most High. All of it's predicted, all of it fulfilled. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 41. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 41. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Folks, what's another word for captivity? It starts with the letter S. Slavery. Slavery. One of the generational curses to fall upon we are the descendants of those that went into slavery. So Moses told our ancestors, you're going to get sons and daughters. You're going to raise up sons and daughters, but you're not going to enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Slavery. Y'all, this is in the Bible. You're telling me that your Christian pastor skipped this in church? Children taken into captivity, the transatlantic slave trade, the kidnapping of Black children, African children, melanated communities, Afro-European children to colonial schools, Canada's residential schools, the mission schools of Malawi and the Congo, the boarding schools of the American Southwest that took indigenous children and told them to forget their language, forget their fathers, forget their God. Thus saith the Lord. Every word was verified, y'all. We're the only ones to this day have Europeans fly out all the way to Africa and just randomly pick up children and say, oh, I adopted this one. Let me bring this child over here to America. Let me file some paperwork. I adopted this kid from Malawi. I adopted this kid from the Congo. I adopted this kid from Nigeria. And you find out that that child is being used by the Hollywood elite and other folks to be a domestic servant, to work. Y'all, is the Bible a true book? Is the Bible a true book? Because apparently, as a Black man, you can't fly to Europe and just pick up European children and bring them to Africa and quote unquote adopt them. But for some strange reason, they can do this in Africa. They can do this in the Caribbean islands. And we have no military, no police force. And even our presidents and prime ministers of various nations don't even stop it. They can't even stop it. That's generational curses, y'all. We were forced to forget our God and join the mosque. We were forced to forget our Elohim and join the chapels, the churches. Do y'all understand this thing? You're going to raise up sons and daughters, but you're not going to enjoy having them because they're going to go into slavery, captivity, prisoners of war. Consider every black child that is taken by their parents and forced into the foster care system of America. Think about that for a second. Meditate on that for a second. The Bible is a true book. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and let's read verse 48. Deuteronomy 28, verse 48. It says, therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee. What group of people across the planet had yokes of iron on their neck? Yokes of iron on their neck, folks. Who did that happen to? What history coincides with yokes, shackles, chains around their neck? Y'all, this is in the Bible. This is in the Bible, folks. A group of people would be forced to serve those that do not have their best interests at heart for food, water, clothing, and everything that they would need. Everything that they would need, they would have to go to those that do not have their best interests at heart for food, water, clothing, everything, y'all. Everything you need. You'd have to go to those that don't like you. Is that biblical? Is that historical? The sons of Levi experienced this, y'all. The sons and daughters of Levi experienced this. Forgetting their identity, forgetting their culture, forgetting who they are, and forced to serve those that don't like them. So now we're going to have to look this up and see historically who did this happen to, right? Who had yokes of iron upon their neck? Who does this Bible relate to have yokes of iron upon their neck? Watch this. Let's zoom in right here. A yoke of iron is a power biblical metaphor representing severe, unbreakable bondage, oppression, and divine judgment, specifically referring to the inescapable servitude of the nation of Israel under Babylonian rule, in contrast with a wooden yoke often representing lighter corrective discipline or normal submission, by symbolizing a harsher, inescapable punishment for rebellion and disobedience. This is what commentators have been placing on here, right? Right? But let's go to images and let's see who did this happen to. We type yokes of iron and we can see the chains of slavery, the chains of captivity. Our ancestors had yokes of iron around their necks. Our ancestors had yokes of iron around their necks. This happened to black folks, y'all. Archaeological evidence proves it. Historical evidence proves it. We are the ones that literally had yokes of iron upon our necks. This happened to the sons of Levi, the sons and daughters of Levi, shackled and chained. Watch this. Yokes of iron, slavery, Malawi. Let's go to image. We had wooden yokes. Whoops. Do y'all see that? All of these relates. Listen, you do not see any Ashkenazi walking around with a slave yoke. You don't see any Ukrainians, any Russians, any people from Spain, right? That claim to be the people. You don't see this happening to them at all. You understand? This happened to our ancestors. Let me get this picture right here. Look at this image. Dude got a whole suit on, looking professional as hell, but got a yoke of iron on around his neck. Same here. We saw this image earlier. What's going on here? Why they never told us this in church, y'all? This was a form of a yoke, a wooden yoke that happened during the Trans-Saharan trade and the East African trade, right? This happened to our ancestors, folks. You understand? This happened to our ancestors, y'all. Do y'all see? Do y'all understand this? Let's look up shackles and chained slaves in Tanzania. This is history that they won't show you about the sons and daughters of Jacob, y'all. You see that? Men, women, and children. Do y'all see that? Chained slaves in Zanzibar, Tanzania. Do y'all see that? East Africa's forgotten slave trade. Zanzibar. This is what happened to the tribe of Levi, the sons and daughters of Levi. So we call it history. The Bible calls it prophecy. I'm showing you these images so that way you can have a spiritual connection to the Bible and see yourselves in the Bible. This is not to cause trepidation or angst. This is to make you realize that the Bible is a true book. Okay? Now, with that being said, y'all, let's get into our presentation because we got a presentation that we want to go cover with y'all. Let's show this to y'all so that way we can get deeper into this conversation, okay? A lot of folks don't know this information, but it's important in these last days to know it, to learn it, to understand that this is our history. So that way, because you know, they have the old adage, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. I know y'all heard that before, right? I know y'all heard that before. A lot of folks don't know that this relates to the scriptures, proving that we're the people of the Bible. They don't know it at all. And your Sunday school is not going to teach this, y'all, at all. They're not. They're not going to show you the proof of our identity, our biblical-based roots, our Afro-Hebraic roots in the scriptures. They're going to teach you Sunday school. They're going to teach you Jesus is European with no Bible verse. They're going to teach you God is European with no Bible verse. You understand? They're going to say various things that are not true. You understand? Very important. Shalom to you, sister. I hope you're doing all right. Most High in Christ bless to you. All praise to the Most High. Shalom to you, brother Fernando. Hope you're doing all right. All praise to the Most High. All right. I like this brother's comment. Don't claim that this is not your heritage. Right. Don't try to ignore it as if this doesn't apply to you. Right. Because when we read these things, people say, oh, it's talking about European people. Okay, when do European people have yokes of iron upon their neck and get scattered into all nations as slaves? When did that happen to them? Give me the date, give me the time period, give me the history. You understand? Give me 1 second, y'all. It seems like I'm having some technical difficulties with the live stream with this PowerPoint. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let's post this right here. 1 second, y'all. I'm going to play a song until I figure out what's going on with my technical issues here. I'm going to play a song and we'll get back in a second, y'all. Give me one moment. I got this PowerPoint, but it's not working for me, so give me a second, y'all.
Who is this coming in garments red? Tell me why your robes are stained like wine. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel? Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel? The watchman ask again, why your garments soaked in battle? Winepress tread where the grapes are crushed, garments stained where the judgment rushed, blood rising high where the horses run. When the day of vengeance finally come, nations plotting but their plans in vain, thunder rolling in the heavens flame, angels moving through the clouds of war, trumpets roaring like a lion's roar, weeping coming for the wicked ones, gnashing teeth when the judgment comes, fire falling like a storm of light while the righteous rising, Zion's sight, enemies trembling calling his name, chariots blazing in heavenly flame, lightning flashing through the sky so bright, darkness fleeing from the coming light, the wicked crumble beneath our feet like dry stubble in the summer heat, Zion laughing as the kingdom rise, truth returning before their eyes, Messiah coming with righteous flame, justice written in his holy name, same oppressors who bound the chains, now they trembling in the fire and pain.
All right, we're back, y'all. All right, we got it to work. Everything is working properly as it should now. So let's go ahead and get started with our discussion. So we're tracing the priestly tribe of the tribe of Levi. We're going to go more in depth on this conversation on our YouTube channel a little bit later. I'm sorry, on our TikTok channel, and I'll repost that. But I want to give y'all a visual of this discussion so y'all can understand what's going on, right? Tracing the priestly tribe of Levi through prophecy, through colonial history, and our genetic memory. Some may ask me, why forefront do you call yourself Raphael Levi? It's because I was able to trace my lineage and understand my connection to the Bible. There's a lot of folks that don't understand why so-called Haitians are very religious. It's because our ancestors are the Levites. What about the blacks in Malawi? It's because our ancestors are the tribe of Levi. What about the blacks in Zimbabwe? Same thing. So we're going to dive deep into this thing and really show you historical evidence, y'all. Where are the children of Levi today? It seems there's a historical void. After the Roman destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, the Trans-Saharan dispossession that took place, after the various exiles and decrees that came forth in 1492, after the middle passage of our people, the priestly tribe, who are the gatekeepers of the covenant, somehow vanished. They disappeared from mainstream historical record. Are they hiding in the trunk of the car? Like, what's going on here? Where are our people? The prophetic concept found in Zerah that we mentioned earlier, right, when we discussed the diaspora, it literally means to winnow or to toss grain into the wind so it spreads to every direction. The thesis of history is not erasure, but a prophesied scattering, a displacement. Our identity was stripped, but the presence remains embedded in cultural practices and genetic rhythms throughout our diaspora. Now, I want y'all to take this into consideration. Seems like we're having technical difficulties. Y'all bear with me. All right, here we go. The prophetic blueprint of Deuteronomy 28 shows us the importance of what we just covered in what we were reading, right? We talked about how we would be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. This was fulfilled when the Afro-Hebraic dispersion took place. We were the ones scattered all over the Americas as captives. We were the ones scattered into the Caribbean islands as captives. We were the ones that were placed in various countries in Europe as captives. And the same thing happened across the Indian Ocean islands. No other demographic on the planet experienced being removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. This is not talking about voluntary migration, folks. This is talking about forced removal. Because you'll have some say, well, my ancestors, they live in different places all over the planet. We live in Ireland and we live in America and we live in Australia. But those were people groups that came in not by force, but through invasion and colonization. There's a difference. Deuteronomy 28, verse 64 says that we would be forced to serve gods of wood and stone. And let's examine religious imperialism. We were forced into Catholicism, which represents the wooden crucifix, the wooden cross. We were forced to worship stone idols of saints. We were forced to worship the Kaaba stone in Islam, which was imposed to our people by the sword. And then the greatest evidence of our Afro-Hebraic heritage is slave ships. Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again, meaning slavery again, with ships. Who did that happen to? And there you shall be sold unto your enemies as slave men and slave women, and nobody's going to save you. Nobody's going to redeem you. Nobody's going to buy you. The middle passage shows us Mizraim, aka Egypt, means the place of bondage, slavery. The second spiritual Egypt was entered when we crossed the transatlantic and Indian Ocean slave ships. No nation intervened. Nobody helped us. Nobody said, stop the ships, what you doing? No religious person stood up and said, this is ungodly. Both Islam and Christianity and Talmudism agreed. The Buddhists agreed. Those involved with African spirituality agreed. Those involved in the various religious structures of the planet, they agreed. Both church and state agreed. They said, let them go into slavery. Let them forget their identity. Let them forget their culture. But now in 2026, they'll tell you, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Color doesn't matter. History doesn't matter. The plight of your ancestors doesn't matter. This is what they say to us, y'all. This is what they say to us. That your history does not matter. That who you are does not matter. Well, according to the Bible, it does matter. It matters significantly. It matters tremendously, y'all. Y'all understand that? It matters who we are. It matters where we come from. The truth always matters. That's why I always say, the truth does not fear investigation, only lies because of intimidation. Only a liar is intimidated by the truth, y'all. Nobody that loves truth will feel uncomfortable with truth because it's the truth. You understand? Nobody that actually has a desire to learn will say, hey, this isn't beneficial to learn more and to grow and to excel in knowledge. Because the Bible says our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because they reject knowledge, God has rejected us from being priests and kings of the earth, y'all. Now it's time for us to return back to our true nationality, our true identity. But guess what? Your Christian church don't care about that. They don't care about who you are. They don't care about your ancestry. They don't care about your biblical connection to Yahweh, to Jesus. You understand? Watch this. The apocryphal writings and warnings of our forefather Levi go into something that we should all know. There is a book that has been hidden from us known as the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. And within the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, there's a book called the Testament of Levi that literally reveals what would happen to the sons of Levi. Okay? Very important for us to understand. Jerry, I like your comment. Jerry said some did migrate to the Western world. It was those who Columbus saw. That is correct. That is a correct statement. However, that happened under the Assyrian captivity, where our ancestors left and went to the Western realm during the time of the Assyrian captivity. That was still forced migration. We were fleeing away from the Assyrians and Babylonians, and we were trying to get to a place where we could worship the Most High without their influence. You can find that out in 2nd Esdras chapter 13. But good comment. I like that comment. Very insightful comment. So let's examine the Testament of Levi, and let's find out how the Testament of Levi relates to our history as the sons of Levi. I want y'all to consider this thing, because when we examine pulpits, they never open this book. The Testament of Levi is part of the book known as the Testament of the 12 Patriarchs, or the 12 Fathers. It's an ancient body of Hebraic literature that was preserved in the Dead Sea Scroll fragments. It was cited by early church leaders, including Origen, and it's referenced across many Jewish and early Christian commentary traditions. It is a hidden text. They call it Apocrypha, meaning they didn't include it in their canonized Protestant Bible. But its antiquity is not disputed. They know it's an ancient writing. It was found in the Dead Sea Scroll fragments. So what our ancestor Levi saw and prophesied and predicted in this testament directly maps out what happened in the Afro-Hebraic experience of our ancestors being scattered into captivity. Here's the historical citation found in the Testament of Levi, chapter 10, verses 3-4. It says, "And now I have learnt that from 70 weeks ye shall go astray, and profane the priesthood, and pollute the sacrifices. And ye shall make void the law, and set at naught the words of the prophets by evil perverseness." Did this happen? Yeah. "And ye shall persecute righteous men, and hate the godly. The words of the faithful shall you abhor, and a man who renews the law in the power of the Most High, you shall call him a deceiver. And at last, as ye suppose, you shall rush upon him to slay him." Wow. So our ancestor Levi prophesied about the corruption of the priesthood, the abandonment of the Torah, the persecution that would follow, and then listen to what comes next, because this is where the scattering enters into the picture, y'all. The Testament of Levi, chapter 15, verses 1-4. The Testament of Levi, chapter 15, verses 1-4. "And when ye act lawlessly, Ye will be made desolate, and the temple which the Lord shall choose shall be laid waste through your uncleanness. And you shall be captives, captives, captives throughout all nations, meaning slaves throughout the world. And you shall be in an abomination unto him, and ye shall receive reproach and everlasting shame from the righteous judgment of God. And all who hate you shall rejoice at your destruction. This is why the Romans rejoiced. When Rome touched Jerusalem, they rejoiced. When they came into Ghana and they messed us up in Ghana, they rejoiced. When they enslaved us and colonized us in Haiti, when Christopher Columbus came to Haiti, they rejoiced. They were happy. When the Louisiana territory was taken over by the French, they rejoiced. They were happy. An abomination unto them, everlasting shame. The Testament of Levi was written before Rome ever touched Jerusalem, y'all. This is a point that I want you to realize. This is true writings, y'all. And yet it describes with prophetic accuracy the aftermath of what would happen after 70 AD and the destruction of Jerusalem, the post-exilic dispersions, and the condition of the Hebrew descended people who found themselves enslaved, colonized, stripped of our priestly identity across the planet. You see, the sons of Levi were the priest. We were the gatekeepers of the ark. We were the keepers of the covenant mysteries. When Levi was scattered, it was not merely an ethnic group that was displaced, y'all. It was the prophetic and priestly function of the earth that went underground into hiding, into the drum, into the syncretic rites that we were never really pagan. You see, we tried to hide our religious under the masks of voodoo. We tried to hide it under brujeria, santeria. We tried to hide it under what they call obeya, the worship of these false gods. We tried to masquerade our religion under synchronizing it with syncretism with the Catholic systems of worshiping saints. But our true understanding was preserved in the Torah, and our memories was cloaked in the language of survival. And we will talk about this when we talk about Haiti, right? Let's read Testament of Levi, chapter 16, verses 1-5. It says, "Do you therefore, my children, tell these things to your children, that they disobey him not. For I have known that ye shall surely be disobedient, and assuredly act ungodly, not giving heed to the law of God, but to the commandments of men," meaning traditions. "And in the 7th week shall come priests, idolaters, adulterers, lovers of money, proud, lawless, lascivious, abusers of children and beasts." Y'all, do y'all hear that? The priests who became idolaters, they became lovers of money, mistreaters of those that were innocent, and then beloved. Read the final warning in Levi's testament, the Testament of Levi, chapter 17, verse 11. "And in the 7th week shall there be such priests as are appointed, who are idolaters, contentious, lovers of money, proud, lawless, voluptuous, perjurers, promoters of harlotry, corrupters of virgins, and greedy for gain." So our ancestor Levi saw the corruption of his own priestly line. He saw his descendants falling into the sins that would trigger the full weight of Deuteronomy 28, Leviticus 26, and covenantal curses, y'all. And that falls precisely on the period of our ancestors from the Second Temple era and onward, when the Levite priests had been sold to the highest bidder under the Herodian dynasty, under the Greeks and Roman occupation. You see, it was the Greeks that infiltrated our religion. It was the Romans that infiltrated our religion, said they are Jews and are not, and incorporated our customs as their own and started to call themselves what? Jewish. Those that say they are Jews and are not, but the synagogue of Satan. Who worships in a synagogue? It was during the time of the Greeks and the Romans that these Edomites took over our religion. First Maccabees chapter 3 verse 48, and laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. These were the ones that infiltrated themselves into our religion and started worshiping idols, being contentious, lovers of money, proud, lawlessness, promoters of harlotry. Is that not what goes on in so-called Jewish communities? You got rabbis that literally work hand in hand with the industries that are for adult entertainment. Candace Owens had an interview where she was talking about talking to a rabbi. She was like, "Hey, how come you and your daughter is involved in adult manufactured toys, promoters of harlotry?" And then you got simple-minded black folks, simple-minded Latinos, simple-minded Africans that follow these Europeans and say, "Hey, we're going to join with them. We're going to be, they love Jesus. They love God. They love the Torah. They're the original people." We got replaced with genetically modified organisms, GMOs. The hammer fell. After this took place, the hammer fell. After Roman occupation, the hammer fell. And the children of Levi, the real descendants of Levi, were scattered into Africa, scattered into Arabia, scattered across the Middle East, scattered into Iran, scattered into Nigeria, scattered into America, and into every corner of the known world. They never told me that in church. They never told me that in church, forefront. So what happened? You got a group of people that went into priestly corruption. You got a group of people that were impacted by their temple being destroyed. You got a group of people that went into slavery in all nations after 70 AD. And it ain't talking about European people that converted to religion that started in Africa. So what happened? The catastrophic convergence of 1492. 1492 was a synchronized global assault on our Hebrew identity across three distinct geographic theaters. This is documented history, so y'all can do a Google search on this thing and it'll pop right up. The Iberian Peninsula. Iberia is comprised of two nations, one called Spain, one called Portugal. They had something called the Alhambra Decree. This decree literally deported or expulsed over 200,000 black Hebrews from Spain. These Sephardic Hebrews who remained in Spain and Portugal were forced to become Catholic, baptized into my Catholic church. They became what's called conversos or Moranos. Moranos, now I want you to think about this for a second. Moranos, Morenos. Moranos, Morenos. What group of people are called Moreno, aka black? So wait a minute. In 1492, we were called Morenos, and in 2026, we're called Morenos, Negros, Indios, black. So the same Marrano Jews in Spain and Portugal were driven to follow their laws underground. We were exiled into North, West, and Central Africa. And when that took place, you had something called the Al-Maghilis Fatwa. This was the destruction of the Tamanite Israelite community along the Niger Bend, where Black Hebrew communities on the Sahara trade routes were unalived, enslaved, and subject to forced Islamic conversion, y'all. Now, does the Bible mention our people as Niger, aka Black? Yeah, it sure does. Acts chapter 13, verse 1. I'm going to read it in the Bible. The Bible is Black history, y'all. You better wake up. Let's go to Acts chapter 13, verse 1. Acts chapter 13, verse 1. Acts chapter 13, verse 1. It says, now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger. Y'all, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Forefront. Is there a country called Niger? Sure is, buddy. What's the primary demographic around the country Niger? Black people. Is there a place called Nigeria? Sure is. What is the primary demographic around Nigeria? Black people. Wait a second. Is there a river called the River Niger? Sure is. What's the primary demographic around the River Niger? Black people. Folks, Black history is in the Bible. You have an entire tribe called the Tribe of Levi and the Tribe of Simeon. Many Blacks all across the Americas and Africa are called Simeon or Simon. That's their biblical based name, y'all. There are many people that are called Levi. Then you have the Americas. Colonial Inquisition. The Inquisition in the 17th century in Brazil and Peru persecuted any dark-skinned enslaved so-called African for Judaizing, meaning what? You were secretly keeping the Sabbath, dietary laws, and the new month celebration, but you had to pretend to be a Catholic because the state religion was what? Catholicism. You had to be a Christian or else. The or else was persecution. Very important history, y'all. But guess what? They never talk about it during Black History Month. Don't you find that odd? Black History Month just passed in February, right? February 2026. Did you hear anything about this information during Black History Month? Any social programs or y'all? BET is not going to cover this thing. BET is controlled by the enemy. They're not going to talk about it, y'all. They're not going to talk about it. Let's talk about the economics of erasure. So we touched on the religious aspect. Let's talk about the economic aspect. You were an African subject to Islam, subject to Catholicism and Protestantism. Under Islam, you had to adopt the Islamic identity. Why? Because there were protections from being enslaved by fellow Muslims if you converted. But guess what? They ain't take it seriously. They said, oh, we're not going to enslave you if you become a Muslim. You got Black Muslims all across Africa, all across the Americas. They don't know that they still got enslaved and forced to convert to Islam. Some of our people escaped, majority did not. Then you had the forced Christian identity where you were nominally protected under European colonial law. They said, okay, if you become a Christian, we'll give you certain rights and protection. But those laws were often violated. Most of our people that were Torah observant, that refused to convert, they were legally classified as unprotected property. Here's the legal precedent. So Ahmad Babi al-Timbukti 1615 treatise called Miraj al-Su'ud, African Muslims could not be legally enslaved. The primary criteria for enslavement was the refusal of Islam. So Hebrews maintaining Torah law were systematically targeted, fulfilling the prophecy of us being sold to our enemies. I'm currently in the country of Malawi. Left the United States and came to Malawi to teach the Bible and teach our people the truth. I do outdoor lectures, and I try to convince these people, to help them understand that their original identity is that of the Hebrews and not Catholicism and Islam. I find it very odd that here where I'm at, there is a huge mosque on one side of the street, and on the other side of the street is a British hospital, showing you British Christianity on one side and Ishmaelite Arab Islam on the other side. Very odd. And yet to this day, it is documented in 2026, that in Arab worlds, our people are still held in domestic servitude in a system called the kafala system, where they falsely get sponsored by people bringing them to Islamic countries, Arabic countries, and they confiscate their passports and force them to work. Under Islam, they still accept slavery as a norm, but they retitled it to the kafala system, the sponsorship system. We covered that in our previous class about the kafala. If you haven't watched that episode about the kafala system, watch our 2 classes on that on our Forefront Radio. Search through our playlist and you can find that information. Very important to understand this history, folks. Very important to understand this history. History will always reveal the truth. History will always reveal the truth. Now, let's do a theological camouflage, something that our ancestors did to try to hide their religion. Covenant memory survived during the Inquisition and colonialism. There was something in the island of Haiti and the Louisiana Territory called the Black Code, Code Noir. Code Noir. And in the Black Code, right, there was a concerted effort to force our people to accept Catholicism, Christianity. Okay. Matter of fact, we're gonna look up Code Noir, right? And I want to show it to you. I want to show it to you, so that way nobody is confused. I want to show you what it actually says, so that way you can make an informed decision on this thing, y'all. Okay? Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Code Noir. Okay. Yes, I found it. Let me share the screen for y'all. When you see this, you're going to say, oh, wow. This is it. They did this? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Let me share the screen with y'all. Let's get a 1 in the chat if y'all can see this. Let's get a 1 in the chat if y'all can see this. This is on my end. I can see it here, but I want to make sure everyone on the stream can see it. Can I get a 1 in the chat for y'all in the comment section? Just so I can make sure that y'all can see this thing. All right. So let's okay. Notice at the top it says Code Noir. Okay, good. Everybody can see it. Code Noir or Black Code. black code. So obviously this is talking about morenos, right? Black folks, negros, right? Indios, right? So let's read the description. The Black Code, also known as the Code Noir, initially took shape in Louis XIV's Edict of 1685. Where were Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in 1685? Where were so-called Africans in 1685? Captivity, shackled, chained. Although subsequent decrees modified a few of the code's provisions, this document establishes the main lines for the policing of slavery right up to 1789. So remember, we were touching on 1492. We're going from 1492, 1685 decree up until 1789. If you ever wonder why most of our people throughout the Caribbean islands and in Africa are Catholic or Protestant, this will help you understand it. Watch this. The first article expels all Jews from the colonies. Wait a second. Hold on a second. Wait a second here. In something called the Code Noir, Black codes, it expels anybody that's a Jew? That's odd. Why would that be the very first article? Why would that be the very first law in something called the Black Code? Jews played a significant but hardly dominant role in the Dutch colonies of the Caribbean region. Oh, this is talking about European Jews, or is this talking about Black Jews? I wonder. But were not allowed to own property or slaves in the French colonies. The edict also insisted that all slaves be instructed as Catholics and not Protestants. So they passed a law saying you could not be a Jew and you could not be Protestant, but you had to be Catholic. Interesting. For the most part, the code concentrated on defining the condition of slavery. So we were reading in the Bible, who were sold as slaves? The Israelites. Passing the condition through the mother, not the father, and establishing harsh controls over the conduct of those enslaved. Slaves had virtually no rights, though the code did not enjoin masters to take care of the sick and old. Let's read the first article. Let's read the first article. Let's read the first and second. We'll read the first and second article. Yeah, let's do that. We desire and we expect that the edict of 23 April 1615 of the late King, our most honored Lord and Father, who remains glorious in our memory, be executed in our islands. You see how European folks just say this belong to us just because? Let me write it on a piece of paper. This accomplished, we enjoin all of our officers to chase from our islands all Jews who have established residence there. So if you're a Black man and you a Jew, they say, get up out of here. If you're a European and you a Jew, get up out of here. In a book, in a decree called Code Noir, the first article is targeting Jews. Code Noir, Code Black, Black Code, Jews. The Jews are Black, y'all. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are the 12 tribes of Israel. The first law they have in the Black codes was against Hebrews. You better figure this out real quick, y'all. This is not rocket science. You know how they say, how the kids say the math ain't mathing. Why is the first article about Jews in a thing called the Black Code? What the hell? Why is it called the Black Code and it's talking about Jews? All praises to the Most High. Help me figure that out. You know, I went to public school. Can somebody please explain this to me? I ain't go to private school. I ain't had to pay for a tutor. It says, chase from our islands all the Jews who have established residence there, as with all declared enemies of Christianity, we command them to be gone within 3 months of the day of issuance of this present order, at the risk of confiscating of their persons and their goods. Article 2. All slaves that shall be in our islands shall be baptized and instructed in the Roman Catholic and Apostolic faith. Hold on, wait a minute. You couldn't be a Jew, but you could be a Catholic. You couldn't be a Jew, but you could be a Christian. I wonder why a majority of people in the island of Haiti and Cuba and Jamaica, why they all Catholic? Why are folks in Malawi majority Catholic? Interesting. Why are folks in the Caribbean islands and folks in the Pacific islands, why are they majority Catholic and then after Catholic Protestant? This is how we became involved with gods of wood and stone, like the Bible predicted, y'all. False gods, false religion. This is the Antichrist system that we're under today in 2026, y'all. Churchianity and Islam. We enjoin the inhabitants who shall purchase newly arrived negros, morenos, aka Jews, to inform the governor and intendant of said islands of this fact within no more than 8 days, or risk being fined an arbitrary amount. They shall give the necessary orders to have them instructed and baptized within a suitable amount of time. Y'all, get baptized. This is why to this day, black folks run around talking about, you got to be baptized and join my church in order to be a real Christian. Come to my church and get baptized. Shalom to you. Hope you're doing all right. This is why when we start talking about the Bible and we say, hey, these folks that had us in captivity, they wasn't teaching us the Bible. They was teaching us churchianity. They say, no, it's not true. It's not true. Forefront, they was teaching us about Jesus. So why you think Jesus is European with no Bible verse? Why you think God is European with no Bible verse? Why do you think the Hebrews are European with no Bible verse? Interesting. So is the Bible a true book? Yes. Did we have to serve other gods for wood and stone religion? Yes. And we have the decrees that prove that point. Let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation. So as you can see, how did our ancestors in the island of Haiti and Cuba and various other places hide our understanding of who we are? It's something called syncretism. We try to hide our religion amongst Santeria, voodoo, right? So the alibi, imposed religion, Catholic saints, Islamic nominalization, compliance with missionary schools, right? We pretended to comply, but guess what? The covenant memory was preserved. We still were keeping the Sabbath rest. We still were secretly doing dietary laws. We still were doing new moon observances. Many intermediate Levite roles, y'all. So when you examine Haiti, there was a lady named Leslie Demangle, right? This scholar, meaning she studied voodoo. And she said voodoo was a highly structured, camouflaged religion born of survival in the brutal French Catholic colony. You see, Haiti was forced to become Catholic. We just read the law. They had something called the loi. Loi in Haitian Creole literally means laws, but they translate it to say spirits. These laws act as biblical archetypes. For example, the Dambala was mapped to the Edenic and Mosaic imagery. So Moses gave us a law. We created false idols and associated those idols with Catholic saints, lois, spirits. Then in the same so-called Haitian voodoo practice, right? They were saying we was pagan, but we had our own Hugon and our own Mambo, which is the priests and priestesses. they maintained a strict functional parallel to the Levitical priest. An intermediary role between the people and deity. Y'all understand that? The priest was supposed to be a gateway between the people and their God. That was the job of the priest. That was the job of the priest. The job of the priest was to be an intermediary between the people and the Most High Yah. I hope y'all understand this, y'all. So there's parallels here that cannot be ignored. There's parallels here that cannot be ignored. The Levite priests and the Haitian priests are one and the same. The Bible predicts that the Israelites would go off into idolatry. Right? And who went off into idolatry? The same folks that are involved in Obeah in Jamaica, the worship of the Oshuns in Nigeria, shamans in Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, the worship of the Lord, the spirits, Loa. It's crazy, y'all, how these things parallel. Let's talk about the cultural fingerprints and the diagnostic. So, on the top of our chart here, we have the Ewe tribe and the Mina tribes, which are found in Benin and Togo. We also have the Lemba, who are found in Congo and South Africa. You have the Chewa, the Lomwe, which is found in Malawi. Y'all, Malawi literally means the Levites in Swahili. When you translate the word Malawi from Swahili to English, it's literally the Levites. Then you have the Moranos or the Morenos in the areas of the Americas. You have the origin myth, supreme being, the priestly class, and specific rituals that are on the left side. And then we're going to break this down. So in the Ewe and Mina tribes, you have the origin myth of the migration from the east, Notsi. So they have traditions where they say, we migrated and came from the east. So that means the so-called Middle East, Northeast Africa, and made their way down into West Africa. Y'all, if they're not the original Hebrews, why do they have history of themselves migrating from the East? Do y'all understand that? Do y'all recognize that? The Lemba, who live all the way in the Congo in South Africa, places like Zimbabwe, places like Botswana, places like Namibia, they have a history where they migrated from the north. Migration from Sana, aka the north. Within the Chewa, they was part of the Moravi or Malawi or the Levite Empire. They had Great Lakes in the north. They say their origin comes from the Great Lakes and further north. Then we know of our people in the Americas that experienced being kicked out of Spain and Portugal, the Iberian exile. That's why you got a lot of black folks to this day that got Spanish last names, Spanish first names, right? Why is there a lot of black folks that got Spanish names? They are the descendants of those that were exiled from Spain. A lot of black folks call Antonio, Ricardo, Fernando, Jose, Suarez. Yeah, there's even black folks that are literally living in places like Cuba and various places all throughout Latin America, right? That literally their last name is Moreno. You already black, but your last name black. You understand? They had a consistent worship of a supreme being, a supreme deity. The Ewe tribes, they called him Mahu, which I can't even say this word. Etymologically is called linked to Yahweh or Yahuwah. Lemba, same thing. Morari. Now, why is this important? Why do they have a deity named Mahu or Morari and then Malawi? I want to put the two and two together so y'all can see it. Let's go to Exodus. I'm sure it's here in the Bible. Let's go to Exodus. Why is there a country called Maui? Let's go to Exodus. Parallels in the Bible. Parallels in the Bible. Let's go to Exodus chapter 6. Listen to this. Exodus chapter 6, verse 16 and down. It says, now these are the names of the sons of Levi. Who? The sons of Levi, according to their generations, Gershom and Kohath and Merari. Wait a minute. We're reading Merari in the Bible, and the Lemba have a deity that they call Merari? Huh. Interesting. So Merari is the same thing as the Moravi Empire or the Malawians, who descend from who? The sons of Levi. You see, a lot of times we would deify our ancestors so we can remember who they are. A lot of times our people would deify their ancestors so they can remember their connection to Yahweh. Interesting. Merari, Lemba, say Merari, and then in the Bible, it says Merari. That's odd. Too close for comfort, y'all. It says, and the years of the life of Levi were 137 years. The sons of Gershom, Libni, Shimei, according to their families. The sons of Kohath, Amram, Ishar, Hebron, Uziel. And the years of the life of Kohath were 133 years. And the sons of Merari, Mahli. Is there a country to this day called the country or empire of Mali? Wait a second here. You got a son of Levi named Mahli, and you got a country or empire that used to be called the Kingdom of Mali. Interesting. That's odd. Then they want to tell us, y'all not the real Israelites, even though we have empires and names of ancestors that are directly in the Bible and is connected to Africa and not Europe. Show me Malawi, meaning the Levites, all the way in Germany where them fake people are. You could be a religious convert all you want, but we're talking about bloodline descendants. You understand? Now, going to Malawi, they had something called the Chiutu, which is the great bow. The great bow echoes the rainbow of Genesis chapter 9. In Genesis chapter 9, Yahuwah decides he's not going to flood the earth anymore. So he decides to put out a great bow. In their traditions, Chiuta represents that great bow, which echoes Genesis chapter 9. You have the Morenos, who were forced into Catholicism and Protestantism in the Americas. We worship the God of Israel based on our mixtures with Catholicism and Protestantism. Now, within all of these tribes of people, we have a priestly class. For example, amongst the Ewe and Mina, they were sacred fire keepers. Why is that important? It parallels Moses and the burning bush. Y'all. It parallels the priests that were over the tabernacle, that were required to have animal sacrifice with fire. Amongst the Lemba, their priestly class is called the Buba clan. So even amongst the Lemba, there's a group that's designated as priests, just like in the Bible, where among the 12 tribes, there was a specific tribal group that was designated as priests. That's odd. In the Chewa and amongst the Lumwe, you had Niau intermediaries. You had folks that were priests designated. You go to them and they're going to give you all the answers that the Creator wanted you to know. Same thing amongst Haitians. Same thing amongst Ghanaians. Same things amongst the Yoruba. In America, we set up our own secret community leaders. In Brazil and Haiti, we set up our own spiritual leaders and say, okay, out of all the people that's there, we're going to have a special secret community where we can go and pray and continue fellowshipping and having our new moon celebrations and all that stuff. There were specific things that were done amongst our people scattered, specific rituals, including circumcision and the new month celebration, y'all. To this day in West Africa, the Awe tribe in Benin, Togo, Ghana, Nigeria, and various other places, they still to this day circumcise their kids, y'all. To this day. And they have new month celebrations. Every month they partying it up. They have strict, the Lemba have strict kashrut, and they keep the Sabbath. Y'all, if they're not the real Hebrews, why are the Lemba practicing the Sabbath, y'all? In Malawi, amongst the Lomwe and Chewa tribes, they have distinct agricultural festivals. Just like you read in the Bible, there's agricultural festivals like the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, right? Same thing, y'all. I'll give you an example. I was driving down the road, right? And while I was driving, they had a whole entire funeral procession. People were walking out of the streets. There was cars lined up. People had their emergency light. I said, what's going on here? Why is traffic pulled up? I'm seeing people walking around with palm leaves in their hands for a funeral. And then I remembered in the Bible that Christ, when he was walking on the earth, that Christ had to, when he walked on the earth, praising Christ with palm leaves. And there's a funeral rite right now in Malawi where they walk around with tree branches, palm leaves in their hands when they have a funeral. You telling me that they not the people of the Bible, y'all? When they're doing these things as traditions, not even realizing it's in the book. Then you have the Moranos lighting candles every Friday, every Sabbath. Every time Sabbath comes around, you got black folks all throughout the Latin America that light candles and they avoid eating pork. If they're not the real Hebrews, why are they avoiding eating pork? That's a Levitical mandate in Leviticus chapter 11, verse 7. You telling me that they literally avoid pork and they're not the real Hebrews? Let's talk about genetic proof, the Lemba and the Ark. The population of the Lemba are a Bantu-speaking people in Zimbabwe and South Africa who have maintained strict dietary laws, Sabbath observance, and male circumcision for centuries. Here's some scientific validation. A landmark study done by Mark G. Thomas, documented by Tudor Parfit, was published in the American Journal of Human Genetics. The finding is that the Cohan modal haplotype, the specific Y chromosome genetic signature of the ancient Aaronic priesthood, was found in the Lemba priestly Buba clan at rates comparable to global Jewish priesthood. So now, I normally don't get involved in DNA and haplogroups and all of that stuff. It's against my biblical-based principles, but I know a lot of y'all are into DNA and all of that stuff. So here's more information pertaining to that, okay? From one end of the earth to the other, Deuteronomy chapter 28 talks about the Israelites being scattered into all nations, from one side of the planet to the other. In various other places, like James chapter 1, verse 1, it talks about the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Our ancestors originated in Northeast Africa, were displaced to places like West Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, South Africa, and all over the planet, and taken all across to Nova Scotia, the United States, the Caribbean islands of Haiti. Let's talk about it briefly. In the United States and Canada, this holds many of the descendants of the Transatlantic War. You had a slave trade that happened in Nova Scotia. You had black loyalists that were loyal to the British Crown. And you had indigenous black populations that were subject to the residential missionary schools that were established by the British and the French and Canada and America. These all were designed to erase our cultural identity and the memory of who we are. Okay? The proof of that is they had what was called boarding schools. Many black folks was involved in these so-called Indian boarding schools. So-called Indian boarding schools. And then those schools transitioned into the public education systems that we see today in the Americas, specifically the United States and Canada. In the island of Haiti, Haiti received over 800,000, almost a million, enslaved so-called Africans, largely from the Bight of Benin, Congo, and regions that were documented to have Hebrew memory. We covered it earlier. We covered it early on the 1492 when there was a decree by the Arabs, the Ishmaelite Arabs, to force the people of Timbuktu to convert to Islam. Okay, very important. And then this culminated in 1791 with the Bois Caïman ceremony. Then you have in Mauritius, folks that still to this day speak a dialect of Creole and French. These islands, Mauritius and Reunion, are islands that received the descendants of Arab Hebrew trade networks documented by S.D. Goitin and swept up into the East African slave trade. I don't like to say trade, I like to say war, because it was a war to put our people in slavery. It wasn't a trade. So the Library of Witnesses is amazing, y'all. Once you start to dig deep in history and find out this information, you're going to find more and more and more and more historical information that will help you understand the truth of this matter, y'all. The deeper you dig, the darker it gets. It says, so according to antiquity, during the medieval times, you have Flavius Josephus, 1st century, who documented in 70 AD or CE that there was a flight of Hebrews flowing into Africa. Millions of Jews fled Roman persecution. In the Keber Nagask, an Ethiopian epic tale, talks about the Israelite royal lineage and connections between King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. You can't ignore these things, y'all. You have Ibn Battuta in 1355, who noted Israelite origins and customs amongst populations amongst the Niger Bend. So Nigeria, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, all these so-called sub-Saharan areas are evidences of Hebrew ethnicity and nationality, y'all. Then during the colonization or invasion era, you have a guy named Leo Africanus, 1526, who described displaced Hebrew communities in West Africa after 1492. So you have 1492 decrees, Alhambra decree and the Fatwa decree, right? Both from Spain, which was Catholic, and both by the Ishmaelite Arabs. And Leo Africanus documented Hebrew communities in West Africa. Why is that important? They tell you that there's no evidence of black people being Hebrews. You got folks in Christianity today that will say there's no evidence of black folks being the lost tribes of Jacob. They a liar. Then we ask them, who are the lost tribes of Israel? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Jesus, they just start sprinkling Jesus. It's about Jesus. It's not about his people. But Jesus said he's going to save his people. What are you talking about? You have Antonio Vieira, 17th century, a Jesuit Catholic priest, alarmed by specific Israelite practices among enslaved Africans in Brazil. During that time period, there was an Inquisition. That Inquisition tried to prevent people from practicing their culture. You see, being an Israelite is not about a religion. It's about your culture, your cultural heritage, your identity. You could be any religion that you want, y'all. You could be a Catholic one day, you could be a Muslim another day. But if you were born a Hebrew, there was a covenant attached to you. If you try to escape the covenant, the Bible says the generational curses would chase you down. You understand? Because you were the ones with Moses on Mount Sinai, y'all. So y'all can play church all you want, but the covenant still impacts you. All right. Modern validation. In the book by Rudolph R. Windsor, From Babylon to Timbuktu, and Yosef ben Yochanan, they synthesized Arabic sources and revealed Biblical genealogy regarding Black Hebrews. Another modern validation is a book by Edith Bruder in 2008, which confirmed Hebrew identity communities all across the continent of Africa, baby. All across Africa. You also have Tudor Parfit, who wrote various books through Harvard University, including the book called Black Jews in Africa and the Americas. And he talks about the genetic confirmation of the Lemba. These are all documented sources, y'all. Documented books. You can literally get these books available on like Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, right? You could type these authors and find their books. Rudolph R. Windsor, Yosef Ben Yochanan, Edith Bruder, Tudor Parfit. You could look up the writings of Leo Africanus, Antonio Vieira. You can look this all up. This is a library of books that we're showing you. You can look up the Kibra Nagas. You can look up Flavius Josephus' writings. You can look up Ibn Battuta's writings. Y'all understand this? We're giving you these sources. So anybody that says you ain't got no proof that you're the real Hebrews, we got books outside the Bible, smart guy. This is important. Because the Bible says you should. This is important because we have a whole group of people that have lost their identity and lost their culture. But the promises of the Bible are still here. The turning point is for us to remember that he will not cast us away. The God of the Bible has not forgotten us. If we return to our covenant, guess what happens? The Most High, through Christ, will break the curse. The Most High promised to our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he will assist us in realizing our true identity in this modern diaspora, and this will initiate and trigger Deuteronomy chapter 30, our returning back from captivity in all nations. Ladies and Hebrew men, the modern resurgence of the Afro-Hebraic identity with families in Haiti, Malawi, Ghana, Nigeria, the Louisiana Territory of America. Most of y'all don't even know that folks was taken back and forth from Haiti into the Louisiana Territory. Some of y'all folks from Louisiana, Arkansas, Chicago, some of y'all got Haitian ancestry. Some of y'all are the Tribe of Levi. Y'all don't even know it. There's folks in Ohio that speak Creole. There's folks that's called Louisiana Creoles, and they speak a dialect that's similar to Haitian Creole. What I recommend is tracking all the Creole speaking language, all like the Haitian Creole, the Mauritius Creole, I think there's Trinidad and Tobago Creole, St. Lucia, I know, Mauritius, I know they speak Creole there, right? Reunion, right? There's all type of Creole speaking languages and French-based dialects, and people didn't put two and two together to say, okay, these are the groups that the French colonized and enslaved. Maybe they're the same people. They never asked these questions. Also, our British-speaking people, we know there's a connection directly between Jamaica and Ghana. We know that. But our people don't investigate the British areas where we were taken as captives. Y'all, it's time for us to return back and reclaim the Bible for ourselves. Reclaim the Torah. Follow the ways of the Most High. Believe in the Black Messiah. These documents, known as the Bible, is made to restore us back to our original place as a nation of kings and priests. Let's go to Exodus chapter 19. Y'all, the greatest gift anybody could give you is your ancestry. For centuries, they kept us from knowing who we are, y'all. Leviticus 19, verse 5. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then will you be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. Hallelujah. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. Hallelujah. Y'all, we are the sons and daughters of Jacob. From there, let's go to Leviticus chapter 26, verse 42 and down. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 42. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 42 and down. It says, then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land. The land also shall be left of them, and shall enjoy her Sabbaths, while she lays desolate without them. So the land right now does not have the original inhabitants. There's Gentiles living in the land right now, according to Luke chapter 21, verse 20 to 24. And they shall accept of the punishment of their iniquity, because they despise my judgments, and because their soul abhorred my statutes. And yet for all that, even though we went to colonization, even though we were enslaved, even though we lost our identity, when they be in the land of their enemies, scattered across the world, in America, in Africa, the Caribbean islands, and more, I will not cast them away. What does the Bible say? I will not cast them away. Neither will I abhor them, to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them. Break my covenant with them. For I am the Lord their God. I am Yahuwah your Elohim. Christ is our God. The Most High Father is our God. But I will for their sakes remember, verse 45, but I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors. Who told you this Bible was about religion? I will not cast them away. The Christian church tell you that God forgot about his people. It's all about the church now. Islam, same thing. It ain't about who you are. It's about how you bow down and serve the pre-Islamic deity, the moon god named Allah. What the hell? But God says, I got a contract. I got a promise with your ancestors, bruh. Sis, he got a promise. He ain't cast you away. He ain't forget you. He did not just call you a color in a crayon box. Watch this. It says, but I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. Where is Egypt? Africa. In the sight of the heathen, that I might be their God. I am the Lord. These are the statutes and judgments and laws which the Lord made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses. Y'all, that's the real religion that we were given. That's what Christ followed. That's what the Messiah followed. Laws, statutes, commandments. From there, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. Listen close. Deuteronomy chapter 30. It says, and it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, meaning rulership and dominion for keeping the commandments, and generational curses, slavery, captivity, losing your identity, that's the curse, which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind, meaning what? Remember who you are. Remember the covenant. Remember the contract. And thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither the Lord thy God have driven thee. So right now there's a movement where our people all across the planet, from Haiti, Cuba, Louisiana, Malawi, France, Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, Iran, we're waking up. The Pacific Islands, we're waking up. Oceania, Australia, we're waking up. We're waking up. You have to be that light to shine on our people to help them. Y'all should be taking this information from the Forefront Radio, sharing it, liking it, commenting on it, making sure your relatives know this so we can connect to our roots from Brazil all the way to Hongdong, China, y'all. All the way to Guangzhou, China. It says, verse 2, and shall return unto Yahweh thy Elohim, and shall obey his voice. The voice of God is the scriptures. The voice of God is his prophets. The voice of God is his Messiah. According to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity. Yahweh will turn your captivity. Yahuwah will turn your captivity. Ahaya will turn your captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God have scattered thee. This hasn't happened yet. Christ is in the Old Testament. Christ is that Lord, the black Messiah, that's going to return us from our captivity in all nations that we were scattered, y'all. So this is future prophecy, y'all. Y'all, this is very important. This is very important. This is very important for us to understand in these last days. It is documented in the Bible that there's a promise of restoration of our people. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter. Now, let me show it to you in the New Testament. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8. Folks like to read this in the Christian church and they think they're under the new covenant when the new covenant belongs to a specific group of people. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8. Christians like to read chapter 8, verse 8, but they don't read the whole area because they want to lay hold to the covenant, but they don't want to lay hold to the generational curses for disobedient. They want all the blessings, but they don't want all the smoke for being disobedient. So we're going to correct that thing. Who is the new covenant for according to the text? Not what I feel, not what my church say, the text. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8, for finding fault with them, he says, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel. What does the Bible say? With the house of Israel, the family of Israel, and with the house of Judah. Levi, you're included in this. Simeon, you're included in this. Benjamin, Judah, Issachar, Naphtali, you're included in this. You understand? Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them out of the land, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Yahweh. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. How did he show himself to be a God? When he resurrected from the grave. When he had miracles all throughout, healing the sick, causing the blind to see. That's how he showed himself to be a God, y'all. And there's folks that even though that happened, they still won't believe. Even though it's well documented about what happened with Yeshua or Yahweh Shai or Yeshua or Yahusha, they don't care, y'all. They don't care. But guess what? The covenant still stands. The promise still stands. You understand? Let's go to Romans. Let's go to Romans chapter 9. This is in the New Testament, y'all. We're reading the New Testament, matter of fact. Romans chapter 9. Romans chapter 9, verse 4. Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, the glory, the covenants. So that's given to the Israelites. The giving of the law was given to the Israelites. The service of God as being priests was given to the promises. All the covenantal promises belong to us. That's why church folk don't want you to read. That's why folks involved in Islamic activities, they don't want you to read. This is why folks in Talmudism don't want you to read. They don't want you to know who you are. They've been trying to keep our identity a secret for centuries, y'all. But the Bible says you're going to know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You're going to know the truth, and the truth will make you free. So the prophecy is not accident. The trauma of the transatlantic war, global colonization, was not a random act of history, y'all. It was strategic. It was precise. It was predicted, and it was executed. The covenant of being scattered, Zara. Number two, we had to survive all these experiences through camouflage. The Levite and the Hebraic identity was never entirely erased. It survived through verifiable inheritance, strategic religious camouflage within syncretic religions and cultural rituals. But now we're living in an era of restoration, being restored to our true biblical-based identity. There is a worldwide awakening amongst the Afro-Hebraic community, and this is going to activate the prophecies in Deuteronomy 30. The scattered priesthood is being called back to the altar. And we're going to be under the order of Melchizedek, which is the order of the Black Messiah. In the new heavens and the new earth, we will be restored in our priestly duties. Here's the proof. Leviticus, watch this. No, not Leviticus. Isaiah. Isaiah prophesied that we would be restored in the new heavens and the new earth in our priestly role. And I want to show that to you. This is to encourage all you Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that lost your identity, that lost your culture, lost your understanding of who you are, that the covenant still stands, and the Most High is going to bring you back. Watch this. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 21. Isaiah 66, starting at verse 21. It says, "And I will also take of them for priests and for Levites, saith Yahuwah, saith Yahweh. For as the new heavens and the new earth," hold up, that's New Jerusalem. "For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain." Wait a second here. So wait a second. In the new heavens and the new earth, he's going to set up Levites. But the church said that the Levites don't exist no more. The church said that the priests don't exist no more. Do you see how they lied to us, y'all? Do you see how they lied to us? So the Bible says, in the new heaven and the new earth, he's going to set up the Levites as priests, y'all. That's amazing. That's wonderful. Let's give all praises to the Most High for his love and compassion on his people. All praises to the Most High. Hallelujah. All praises to the Most High. When Babylon falls, we will be restored as his people. Thank y'all for listening to the Forefront Radio. I hope y'all have a wonderful Sabbath. I hope y'all enjoyed our discussion here on the Forefront Radio. You subscribe to us, please, on YouTube here. Like this and share it with at least 10 people. If you want to contribute to our efforts to teach here throughout the continent of Africa, donate via Cash App, APHIELLEVI. And remember, the truth does not fear investigation, only lies because of intimidation.
Who is this coming in garments red? Tell me why your robes are stained like wine. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel? Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel? The watchman ask again, why your garments soaked in battle?
Wine press tread where the grapes are crushed, garments stained with the judgment rush. Blood rising high where the horses run, when the day of vengeance finally come. Nations plotting but their plans in vain, thunder rolling in the heavens flame. Angels moving through the clouds of war, trumpets roaring like a lion's roar. We keep in coming for the wicked ones, gnashing teeth when the judgment comes. Fire falling like a storm of light, while the righteous rising in Zion's sight. Enemies trembling, calling his name. Chariots blazing in heavenly flame. Lightning flashing through the sky so bright. Darkness fleeing from the coming light. The wicked crumble beneath our feet like dry stubble in the summer heat.
Zion laughing as the kingdom rise. Truth returning before their eyes. Messiah coming with righteous flame. Justice written in his holy name. Same old oppressors who bound the chains. Now they trembling in the fire and pain. Let the rain falling like ancient floods. Washing Babylon in crimson blood. Rejoice, O Zion, Babylon falling. Oh, rejoice, O Zion, Babylon falling. Oh, falling forever, never to stand. Falling forever by his command. Babylon falling, come down now. Babylon falling, come down now. Hear the trumpet, hear the sound now. Babylon falling, falling to the ground now. Babylon falling, Babylon falling, Babylon coming, Babylon falling to the ground now. Oh, yeah, Babylon falling, Babylon coming. Hear the trumpet, hear the sound now. Babylon falling, Babylon falling to the ground now. Babylon falling, Babylon coming, Babylon coming, Babylon falling to the ground now. Judgment striking like a thunderclap. Truth returning with the power back. Wicked kingdom thought they ruled the land. Now they shaking when the king will stand. They were boasting in a stolen throne, but the prophet said the end was known. Christ returning with the sword of flame. Every nation trembling at his name. Blood rising by the horse's stride. Justice flowing like a crimson tide. From the ships to the battle lines. Every prophecy revealed in time. Archangel moving through the sky above. Carrying wrath from the throne of love. No more hiding, no more pretending. Babylon's empire finally ending. Scripture strong like iron press. Faith lifting like a heavy bench. Prayers rising like the holy sent to the heavens where the Father sits. Revelation 13 and 10. Isaiah 14 again. Prophets speaking through the storm and wind. Babylon's kingdom falling in. Yeah, yeah. Babylon falling, come down now. Hear the trumpet, hear the sound now. Babylon falling, Babylon falling to the ground now. Babylon falling, Babylon falling, Babylon falling, Babylon falling to the ground now. Babylon falling, Babylon coming. Hear the trumpet, hear the sound now. Babylon falling, Babylon falling to the ground now. Babylon falling, Babylon coming, Babylon coming, Babylon falling to the ground now. Mystery Babylon shining bright like a trap dressed up in golden light. Pretty face but the poison deep like a flower that was made to eat. Truth alone gonna set us free, give us back our identity. Stole the name from our father's seed, but the prophecy revealed the key. Israel rising across the lanes, scattered tribes waking up again. You can claim what you wanna claim, but the curses testify the name. Hands once bound in captivity, now we breaking every lie we see. Come out of her, don't want it clear. Judgment falling when the end draws near. Revelation 18 and 4, calling Israel from Babylon's door. No more buying the deception, told truth shining brighter than silver or gold. Many fall, but the remnant stand, walking strong in the Father's plan. Faith unbroken, hearts refined, kingdom coming in the end of time. Babylon falling, come down now. Babylon falling, come down now. Hear the trumpet,